Hello there! This video is to introduce you to my new track car here in the US. So following the Camaro disaster, I picked up this beautiful Porsche 981 Cayman S, but this video will not be quite what I had planned because unfortunately, if we move over to this side, you will see that all is not well. This video is being made after the very first track day, and as you can see, the track day didn't really quite go as planned. So this video is actually meant to be, introduction into the kind of things I did to try and keep things as close to standard as possible with this car, but still make it, as suitable for track use as I could. But I think, yeah, the video will have to take a slightly different turn. But I think, we can still try and go through the original agenda. So yeah, the reason I couldn't get that video done in time was because the week prior to the past weekend, I was super busy with work, was getting the car ready for the track day. The costs of labor here in the Bay Area is insanely high. Lesson learned there, so I think I'll be doing a bit more wrenching on my own car in the future. And yeah, so by the time I was ready to go on the track day, on the Friday, it was already way too late, and there was no time left to do the video. Okay, here goes. So this is a 981 Cayman S, mid-engine rear-wheel drive, a wonderful car. Outside of this, it was a fairly high mileage example, so I was able to pick it up for a pretty good price, I would say. This generation of Cayman already has the engine that doesn't have issues with bore scoring or IMS. So it's the direct injection 3.4 liter. Basically the prior generation 987.2 was also okay. If you got that generation, it had the same engine, but if you went with the 987.1, so all cars 2009 and older, you got to watch out for bore scoring issues, IMS bearing issues, etc, etc. From what I've been able to figure out, the 981 is actually fairly reliable, and especially mine is a manual 6-speed, and from what the shop told me, the only thing that kind of goes wrong on these cars is the PDK, which mine doesn't have. So it's a pretty reliable car. The only downside I've found so far is that on regular road driving, it is pretty much a the car is so capable, it is not all that exciting. The gearing, especially second gear, is really long, and the engine only really wakes up above 4,000 RPM, and therefore it's nowhere near as exciting as the Camaro SS1LE. For just regular commuting. I think it really takes a windy road or a racetrack for you to feel the specialness in this car. But yeah, with that said, let's go through the things that I tried to do to make this car as ready for the track as it could be without spending a whole bunch of money on modifications. So the first point, the first item which is not that great for track use are the standard seats. They look great, they're very comfortable, well, they're relatively comfortable, but they're leather and they're not very grippy. So in the standard seats, I kind of slide around a little bit. And yeah, I'm getting in from the passenger side because the driver's door is kind of stuck from the accident. Well, the door isn't stuck, but the quarter panel has been pushed back slightly and is blocking the door. But yeah, let me show you what I did to solve that problem with the seat. So ideally, so like on my prior track cars, I had bucket seats. But I didn't want to go that route yet with this car, and so you'll see it's got a few different presets. It's got like different positions you can set for different driver profiles and so on. Now what I did, I set number 1. I set number 3 to my. Let me get rid of the wiper. Sorry. So, and turn off the air conditioning. I set number 3 to the driving position that I would like to use, and I set number 1 to a slightly different position. So let me show you. So this is position number 1. You can see the seat back going back. And what I would do is I would sit inside. I would pull the seat belt, fasten the seat belt in position 1, tug on it quickly, and then at this point I would press 3, which raises the position of the seat. And that way the seat would quite securely lock me into position. And because there was sufficient tension on the seat belt, it really helped me into position in the standard seat. So that was a pretty good well, it's not really a modification, but it was a trick that I used. And then the other main thing is the alignment. So let me get the alignment papers out. Just a second. Alignment. It's probably this one. Yep. So let me spin that around. So you'll see what I did was changed the front camber, where standard it was almost 0. I was able to get it to roughly minus 1.2. And I increased the rear slightly as well, from minus 1.2 to minus 1.9. And it's possible to do that without spending money on additional parts. Let me show you how that's done. That's done just using the standard parts which are on the car. So yeah, if you open up the frunk, this is a panel that you can just take off. And so once that's removed, you can see that where the strut gets mounted to the dome, there is some, there is some adjustment, a small range of adjustment, and so it's by pushing these, like loosening these 3 and pushing them fully inwards, that it is possible to get the additional degree of camber. So that's important. The other things which were important to do prior to a track day was changing the oil, changing the brake fluid. Sounds simple, but you got to do it. Engine oil, it's up to you, but I went with slightly thicker oil than the standard, but still within factory recommendations. So I think standard, the car runs 0W40, and I decided to go with 5W50. From what I've been able to gather, this car will run slightly hot in terms of oil temperatures on track, especially during the summer. There are mods where, yeah, a deep sump is changed on the car. But as I'm still running the car on standard road tires, didn't really want to go for the deep sump. And the deep sump helps with lower the oil temperatures as well. So because I didn't do that, I decided to just go with slightly higher weight of oil, which at a higher temperature maintains the same viscosity as the lower weight oil at a lower temperature. And the brake fluid, that's very important as well. So supposedly you're able to just run regular pads, like the standard factory brake pads on track days. I'm not sure if I trust that. So that's what the shop told me, but what I did instead was I just got some relatively mild half road use, half track use pads from Ferodo, DS 2500. The track day I went to at Sonoma Raceway was wet, and it was fairly cold, and I definitely didn't suffer from any brake fade. But I think it's only if I had been in a hotter track day that I can really say with any certainty whether these brake pads would have been sufficient or not. What else? Some other cheap modifications that from past experience is good bang for buck, I would say. Is brake cooling. So I haven't done them yet on this car, but from what I've heard, or from what I've been able to find online, it might be possible to retrofit these wind deflectors from the Cayman GT4, either 981 or 718 GT4, and those go onto the lower control arm and deflect a bunch of air towards the brakes. So that way, like if you're suffering from pad fade, where the pad gets too hot, then adding some brake cooling will solve that, especially for track use. So I think that will be my short mod list for, oh sorry, one last thing. The other thing that I changed was a stud kit on the brake calipers. So this is something where if you don't do that and you're changing the brake pads a lot, because you have to take the caliper off the upright, supposedly by the third or fourth time that you do it, the bolt will just take the thread with it, at which point you have to replace the entire aluminum upright. So I did get that replaced. So what happens is the bolt is replaced by a stud. The stud remains with the aluminum upright, and each time you are changing the brake pads, you simply undo a small nut and the caliper comes off, but the stud stays with the upright. So that would be my mod short list, I would say. Some are really just maintenance items. So oil, brake fluid, maximize the front camber you have out of the factory. Some brake pads. Make sure you can lock yourself into position in the seat. And that should be enough for the first track day, I think. And just make sure the general condition of your car is okay. In the next video, I'll explain what happened, how I messed up on track, and what you can learn from it. Let me know what you think in the comments. Till next time.